Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Navigating Uncertainty webinar series, and we are looking forward to a very exciting day today. So I would just like you to please go in the chat, and if this is your third or second time joining us, today the chat must be working. So please just indicate your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. As I indicated, this is the third of the 5 webinars that we are holding. And the key reason why we are having these webinars is really to provide a space for us to engage. And this is as a result of the funding aid cuts that have just recently happened and the termination of programs. We know that most of us in this webinar are going through this transition phase. And these webinars are meant to really be here to affirm the journey that we are going through right now, to offer practical grounding, to facilitate visioning and goal setting, and also to explore fresh opportunities that are available for us. So today, the webinar is on Beyond Employment, and we are looking to really inspire interest and offer practical support to help you as you explore other opportunities, and if entrepreneurship is one of those opportunities, then today you're going to walk out with practical skills and also the knowledge that you require to start exploring that field. So just to make sure that we are all aligned in terms of how we are going to engage, I'm going to offer some tips on how to navigate our webinar Zoom today. So we have a chat icon as I have indicated. So if you could please just enter your name and where you're joining us to make sure that the chat is working for everyone. Please let us know either by lifting your hand or accessing the Q&A if that's not working for you. We also have a Q&A box where you can put your questions as you listen to the different speakers. We would love to make sure that, so Patrick is raising his hand, so probably that means the chat is not working. So just give us a second and we will make sure that's working for everyone. Just a second. Okay, so I think we should have that updated now. If not, we'll make sure to fix it in the next 1 minute. So our hashtag for today as well is Beyond Employment. If you are learning anything or taking anything away from this webinars, we would love you to share this with others who may benefit from it. So our hashtag is Beyond Employment as you share this. And now the chat is working, thankfully. I can see Patrick is here from Mombasa, Washira is here from Nairobi. That's exciting. So please keep them coming. Let us know what your name is and where you're joining us from. Great to see you, Viola. So the last part, I'm just going to highlight the specific objectives of this specific webinar. So the first thing is we are really looking at making sure that we inspire courage in exploring the entrepreneurship journey. So we will be giving some tips and just making sure we are sharing practical tips and tools on how to navigate that, sharing key insights on emerging market trends, especially in the export space, to really help you identify potential areas for business exploration. And then lastly, also highlight practical pathways and accessible support services that you can guide you and encourage you as you look at the initial steps of starting an enterprise. So thank you for joining us. We hope that you will benefit a lot from this and share with others. Please keep us engaged in the chat if you have any questions or if you have any key takeaways. And at this point, I'm going to invite Dr. Joshua, who will introduce our speakers, our moderator, but also just give us an idea of what to expect. So over to you, Dr. Joshua.
Hello, good afternoon, good Good morning, depending on where you are logging in. We are so glad to have you, and we trust that this will be a very encouraging and also a very empowering time. We have wonderful, terrific speakers and panelists, and I just want to mention their names and what they do briefly, because you will find on the screen a bit more information. Starting with Jane Maigoa. Jane Maigoa is the Managing Director for each one of us. Secondly, we have Paul Macalossi. Paul Macalossi, he is the Managing Director of DHL Express Kenya. He's led DHL operations in quite a number of countries, Kenya being the latest, but he's been to Tanzania, Malawi, and he offers insights, particularly on resilience, on partnerships, and how trade facilitation can power small and medium enterprise growth. And so we look forward to hearing from Paul about that. Then we have Linda Onyango. Linda Onyango, she is the CEO of SME Support Center. So hopefully some of us will get into our own businesses. She is a mission-driven leader, more than 18 years, particularly in the SME advisory experience, and she will share very practical frameworks and tools to guide particularly those of you who are starting as early stage entrepreneurs. So we are so very, very happy to have these terrific speakers and panelists. And in a moment, we also want to introduce our moderator. Our moderator is Moses Itati. I will not introduce him actually, because I've got someone who knows him even better than I do. And this person is a friend to many of us, because she has been in USAID for a number of years. She was particularly associated with PREG. Those of you who know PREG, she was actually instrumental in the launch and growth of Partnership for Resilience and Economic Growth, that is PREG. So work in northern Kenya, as well as actually starting the Horn of Africa Resilience Network. And I had the privilege, like many of you, to work alongside Jennifer Mora. And in a moment, I'll be asking Jennifer to greet you. And I just something, and many of you who are associated and working with USAID in Kenya and East Africa would know, because of the way that we have regarded her, we have even given her a local name. But I think there's another reason why we give her this local name, because we can't get our tongues around her second name, Mora. I don't even think that is the correct one. So we decided, why don't we call her Mwaora? So Jennifer Mwaora, I hope you can be able to greet us and introduce our moderator for us. Friends, if you can just facilitate that would be wonderful. Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Joshua. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, great. I'm not sure if the audio's on or not. Hi, everyone. As Joshua said, my name is Jennifer Maurer. I've had the privilege of working in Kenya, East Africa for the last 20 plus years, some with USAID as a manager on resilience programming, as well as with the Department of Agriculture on emerging market opportunities. And so it's it's great to have had this opportunity, and I have big appreciation to all of the organizers really bringing us together at this time. I think it's important that we've all learned that our networks, our support system, and our challenges are very helpful in challenging times. And I know through my own experience, achieve things I'd like to do, things I would like to be passionate about moving forward as I'm looking through my reimaging of what will be next for myself. And I think it's an exciting time. I know it's hard, but it's also exciting because I think with the opportunities for this strong network and strong region to really move forward and take things to another level and different pathways and different opportunities that may present themselves. One message I guess I'll leave with you, Moses, is I think one of the biggest opportunities or biggest challenges that we have to help ourselves through this process is helping us move outside our comfort zones. And I think that's something we can all take away. I participated in a number of these sessions, and I was thinking I was starting over with some of my mindset. And through these sessions and other conversations I've had with other colleagues and counterparts throughout the region, it's really about retooling, rethinking, and opening up to what's really possible. And so I do encourage everyone and challenge myself even on this kind of conversation about how we can move outside of our traditional comfort zones and expand and think through the unlimited possibilities that might be there for us and others that we're engaging with in this region. And so with that, just again, a big appreciation to the organizers and to all the panelists who are participating today, but throughout the series. We really appreciate it. And I can't say how amazing and strong the network and support system here is in Kenya and this greater region for all of us at this time. So just big thank you to everyone. Joshua has given me the honor of introducing a dear colleague, Moses Sitati, who really needs no introduction to many of us in the region network that we're in. Moses has been an innovation relationships manager for many, many years, but I think one of his uniquenesses is he really drives all of us to open our thoughts, open our opportunities, and really help move us into a space where we can collaborate, we can partner, and we can champion ourselves as well as others in the way we do business, in the way we help and make a difference in Kenya and East Africa, and in Moses's case, even globally. And so it's a real honor to be able to introduce Moses as our moderator this afternoon to really help us take a look at how we can move beyond our current employment opportunities as they've been challenging situation and opening ourselves up to creating new opportunities through the business mindset and entrepreneurship type thinking. So over to you, Moses, and thank you for moderating today.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you, Dr. Wadanga. Thank you, Florence. I see from the...
Moses, I think there's a little bit of sound, but I'll let the team help you. Or let me unmute.
Can you? Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. That's was a very kind introduction. Thank you, Dr. Watanga. Thank you, Florence. I think looking at the chat, participants from across Kenya, I see Nairobi, Kiambu, Mombasa. I see someone from Malawi as well. And just really encouraged to have people tuning in. Let me start off by saying for all colleagues in the USAID or development partner space that are finding themselves in a transition moment or phase, I think we're all here working together. This has been a moment for us to rally around each other and support each other. And I think particularly this series of webinars allows us to lean in to the change that is happening. I think we are all aware change always happens. It's how we respond to the transition that matters. And so we look forward to an interesting session today. We will be focusing on entrepreneurship. And we have, as you've already seen, a great panel of leaders who are going to help us reflect and reframe our journeys, as Jennifer has just mentioned. Because of that background that I've had at USAID supporting entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs, I think it's also an honor to be able to moderate and facilitate this discussion. Please feel free to use the chat box in a very engaging and dynamic way. The format that we're going to take over the next roughly hour or so is we'll hear from the three panelists in sequence, and then we'll have an open discussion. But please, as information of interest comes across, please feel free to drop in a comment that is meaningful to you, to pose a question as well that we can pick up later. And we'll make sure to come back to that. So before we kick off and start with Jane Maigwa, I think reflecting on my experience of supporting entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship it's a difficult journey. It's especially in Kenya and in Africa, we have seen on social media a tendency to glamorize founders, to glamorize startups, and perhaps not enough attention is being given to just the very, very hard work that business owners need to put in, the mental health issues that business owners struggle with, and the realities of running a business. And for me, as I approach today's session, we really just want to make it very practical and hands-on to help you think in an objective way what it means. If I go back to that word entrepreneur, a French word, in its very origins, I think early around the 13th century, that word entrepreneur meant the connotation was to undertake or to do something big. I think with time it evolved to mean someone who pursued a business opportunity or a project. But I want to go back to that original meaning. For those of us who are on the call today, and when we ask ourselves why we're interested in this topic of entrepreneurship, is it a fallback plan that is happening to us by default, just because of the shifts that have happened in the global funding landscape? Or is it something that has been percolating at the back of our minds and we're trying to birth something in us or something out of us, let me say? Are we thinking about a problem that we're hoping to solve, or are we perhaps seeing that there are many others out there who seem to be successful and we aim to replicate that success? So we'd like to run a poll just to get a feel of who is in the room. And there's just two simple questions that we want to start off with. Please let us know as you pick up the poll there, what does being an entrepreneur of where you're coming from? And then the second question is, please tell us why you're interested in being an entrepreneur. It's just pick one of the options there. I think this will help us and the panelists as well as we begin to respond to the questions that you're answering. But let me then begin to transition into the. We'll give it a bit of time and we'll come back to the results. I'd like to begin transitioning now to our first panelist, Jane Maigwa. Jane, I think, is an interesting panelist for many of us because several years ago, she was probably in the same situation we find ourselves today. We've been working in the international development sector or space and finding ourselves in a period where we're no longer doing that or considering new options and asking ourselves how to move forward. So I felt Jane would be able to frame this issue for us. She's a successful entrepreneur in her own right now. But Jane, coming to you now, let me take or rewind several years back with you when you had just concluded your time within the United Nations system and beginning to ask yourself how to move forward. if I could take you there, what was happening in your mind? What internal conversations were you having with yourself? And how did you begin to make that shift? Paint a picture for us and our audience.
Great. Thank you very much, Moses, and good afternoon, good morning, and the audience. I'll go straight to answering the question. Sounds like there's an echo. I don't know whether I hear it, but I hope it's all right on the other side. Okay, yeah, so I was in the UN system almost exactly 9 years ago when my contract ended. That is 2016, April, at the end of April. So it's now been 9 years, and I feel with those that have lost their contracts, because I know there are quite a number of you that are in this call. But yeah, the feeling I had at the beginning was sort of a professional loss that we cannot deny fact. But at the same time, a bit of excitement in me about what was ahead. It may be a little different, slightly different from the situation that some of you find yourselves in, because this is, yours might be more sudden than mine was. Mainly because when I was leaving the United Nations, where I worked for 6.5 years, and before that, I was in the development sector for another maybe 20 years on the space of enterprise development. I knew my contract was going to come to an end, just like many of us have always known. You know, if you have been contracted maybe 2 years, 5 years, 3 years, you knew somehow your contract was coming to an end at some point, but there was always somehow a renewal of contract if you performed well and if you were constantly fundraising, and that's all we used to do. You know, you're implementing the programs, but you're also, on the other hand, fundraising, and so you had back-to-back projects coming on. So when my contract came to an end, we had a promise then that we were going to get renewed funding from the particular development partner or donor that was funding the Women's Economic Empowerment Program I was running. But unfortunately, there was a change of government in the country that they were operating. This is not US this time, it's a different European country. And it's sort of the same thing, and priorities changed and policies changed, and we found ourselves not going to receive the funds anymore. Anyway, stepping back a little bit within that contract, I had always nurtured a dream to get into private sector. I had already started, you know, feeling I needed something more challenging, something possibly more long-term, because I was on 2 years contract. Those kind of contracts, and so in my mind there was something running that there was always that uncertainty, you know, contract after contract. So anyway, when it finally happened, it had to be that I get something to put food on the table, and so straight on I went into what we all do. You jump into consulting and you start looking for consultancy jobs, and there's so many of us that are in the consulting at that time, so not very easy to start off, but utilizing the networks that I had and the expertise and the skills I had, I started applying for consultancy jobs. At the same time, you know, consultancy jobs, for those that have done them, they're not very consistent, and you're not sure you'll get paid soon. You know, you can be doing the job, but you'll be paid some months, sometimes even years later. So I needed to foot the bills that I had, you know, every month, and so I knew I wanted to do business. And so I teamed up with some two partners, two ladies that we are partners up to today. And we decided to get on to registering a business. It has already been introduced. I have been in the space of enterprise development and supporting businesses to start, expand, and grow. So I had a little bit of skills and expertise in terms of business, how to start a business, you know, theoretically, really speaking, how to write a business plan. I had some a bit of idea around that. So we got together with my colleagues who also lost their contracts as mine was ending. We were not working in the same agency, and we did go ahead and register a business. And so, fact that we spent quite a lot of time together. You know, one of the things that you realize is that you have a lot of time. So one of the things, you know, as we go along, you want to open your mind up to is that besides that, you now are not busy. On the other side is you have a lot of time to think and to plan, to think on paper. So we began to do our business plan, and we did that for a period of close to 2 weeks without having started anything. Remember, we have registered the business. We are crazy. We just went and registered the business name. We agreed which name we were going to register, and we did register it. So we fast track a bit because of time. And one of the things as we were doing the business plan, and it's not as straight as it's sounding right now, there are a lot of zigzags as you do this. We needed to decide which business before we even wrote the business plan. So we went through, sectors that were familiar to us, and, none really seemed to resonate with what we wanted. We were also clarifying what really was our passion in the space of business. Did we want to do trading? Did we want to do manufacturing? Did we want to do local business? Did we want to do exports? And what, for me, for example, excited me, and I was kind of leading all the other two, is export business and something to do with agribusiness. So we did go through value chains, different sectors, and trying to think, what can we do with this? Is there a market? We were always going back to the market. Is there demand? Is there a need for us to be able to supply certain products or manufacture certain products? Fast track that, and I'm still doing consulting. I found myself working in the space of macadamia value chain. And this is the time we're still doing the survey. And I found that macadamia value chain was very, very interesting. And so I brought that to my colleagues, and we began to analyze, the sector much more deeply, the markets, looking at where the customers were, how the sector was growing. And the internet is a powerful tool. We use the internet like 100% to be able to get information, because, by the way, this sector is very difficult to get information from, for example, competitors. So we went through together with my partners, pulled out a directory of importers and began to wade through who is importing, how is the demand growing, which countries buying, how much quantities are they buying. And then on the other hand, we were looking at how is this product produced. And we saw that, in fact, by design, by the law, you had to do processing as far as macadamia nuts are concerned for you to be able to export. By this time, it was very clear in my mind and that of my partners that we wanted to do export business. And so we began to tick, things that were already aligning with our passion. The part of exports, the part of that you have to manufacture. We wanted to do value addition. My last job, I worked for International Labour Organization, a wonderful place to work. And one of the things we were promoting is decent work. And so in me, I was just all about decent work. We wanted to create jobs. And that was an opportunity because it was high unemployment. So the other last thing that we looked at was were we going to work with bigger communities, like the rural communities? This is one of the spaces I had worked in the value chains, and macadamia is grown by over 200,000 smallholder farmers. So everything seems to begin to align. But one of the things that aligned, that told me I was ready to get into business, believe it or not, is even the job loss. So the job loss itself, the fact that my contract ended and it wasn't going to be renewed and there wasn't time really to look for jobs, the one coming as fast as I wanted, it was time to get in. Nothing was perfect, but we dived in.
Thank you.
Moses?
Thank you, Jane. I think that was a very useful overview and background. And there's something I want to double click on there. But as we're discussing, I'd like Florence to bring up the poll results. Thanks again for your participation. And we see where people are coming from at the moment. About 34% of our participants are thinking about entrepreneurship to escape unemployment. And then about 2/3 have a problem in mind that they want to solve. And we'll probably open the definitions of what being an entrepreneur means. But looking at the data under number 2, Jane, I wonder, maybe as you also close for us and we transition to Paul, the process of engaging and speaking with your colleagues, these are 2 other friends. It has happened to me, I'm sure it has happened to many others on the call. People have been huddling asking each other, what's your experience with dairy goods? What's your experience with such and such a sector? Would you mind joining us in our consultancy outfit? Maybe take us through that coordination and discussion process with friends. Were you all equally pulling your weight doing the research? Was someone leading a bit more? Were you all, coming from the same backgrounds in enterprise growth and development? Just managing that network and discussion process.
Yes, indeed. We had things in common. I found it was easier to deal or work with people that had some number of things in common. We had worked together with these two ladies. We are three partners for a number of years, about maybe 3-4 years. And we had spent a lot of time together, and we had developed professional bonds. We had learned a lot of the character of each other. Partnerships can be very, very complicated if you are not aligned in terms of your values, in terms of your belief, in terms of the energy that you bring into the business. Not necessarily resources, but alignment, especially in terms of values and how you want to run the business you're getting into. So I found these two ladies, we were very, very aligned in terms of values. Well, interestingly enough, we came from similar backgrounds. We worked in development, but I'm not saying that partners have to work from the same. In fact, some people advocate that you need to have complementary skills, but for us, it has really worked that in terms of alignment of thought, in terms of that, we had professional friendship also. Friendship is important, but we acted quite professionally as we started this business. It was very clear to us we wanted to start from a formal place. Formal doesn't mean big. Formal means that you want to start being compliant, with various aspects of the business sector that you want to engage in, and also for the type of business that we wanted to run. So those are the conversations we had. I had lots of friends, as you can imagine, but I wasn't looking for social friends. I was looking for professional friends. And so, when we got to sharing about how to put together the business plan, we had sort of similar thinking, and everybody was ready to learn. Some of the mindset shifts that we had to shift from is being an expert. When you're working in this, for example, the United Nations and these agencies that are called expert agencies, you carry that hat, or that hat of an expert, and the titles of an expert, like that. So we had to pull those down and take the role of learners. We have been learning, and entrepreneurship is about learning. You never get there. You are learning every day. And so apart from the two partners, we had to look for many, many other mentors. This is a sector we had never been involved in. None of us really had done manufacturing, especially of macadamia. It was new to us completely, despite having worked in agribusiness and spent just a little bit time, maybe 6 months in consulting. It's not enough for you to learn a business fully. And so we spent a lot of days and nights, learning, immersing ourselves in the setting up of the factory. The factory, by the way, is the one you see behind me. That's a company, Exotic EPZ. The front part, the factory is right behind. And it has taken a lot of dedication and intentional spending time with many people. If it's, for example, the logistics, international logistics, we had not done exports. We had to look for somebody who was willing. You have to get someone who's willing to give you a lot of knowledge. Who are not charging anything. By the way, not every mentor will charge. And we spent a lot of time with that person, not just one, several, just listening and learning, making mistakes. Mistakes are very, very, very normal to make. Some are costly, but we were able to learn from those mistakes. And of course, celebrating the wins as we went along, that was really inspiring. When we did our very first container in 2017, we almost, escorted it down to Mombasa with outriders, pickies. It was such a celebratory moment. We had a great party, actually, to celebrate one container. Yeah, so we have celebrated many wins along the way. We have had a lot of downfalls, but we don't allow ourselves to stay down. The COVID, the inflation, we always are looking at how do we learn, how do we secure ourselves from the risks that face us. Uncertainty is certain. I wanted to say that. Job loss is just one. Entrepreneurship has a lot of uncertainties, but there's a lot of opportunity, to learn and bounce back very high up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. And among some of the things I'm hearing from you as you're sharing is how, yes, we have had colleagues who have been friends of ours at the office, but even as we look at transitioning in our personal lives, if we're entering into partnerships or engagements with people who have been colleagues of ours at the workplace, I think we also look at evolving those friendships into still friendships, but also formal engagements and learning and growing together. So I think some of what I was hearing from you is this incredible season of evolution. Macadamia was new to you, just jumping and learning into a new industry and field. Using the internet. Last week's webinar was about AI, and the speaker then was really encouraging people to try and experiment some of these new tools. And so those are some of the common themes I'm hearing from you, and I hope we can also come back to them in the open discussion. You spoke about logistics and trade, and I think that's a good segue for us to go to our second panelist, Paul Makolosi from DHL, a company which I'm pretty sure many of us are familiar with. You've seen the trucks, maybe you've seen the ads somewhere. You've probably shipped a parcel from abroad. Paul, welcome, and I'm sure perhaps people on the call might be wondering. Yes, we're familiar with DHL. We know DHL, the shipping and logistics company. But what does DHL have to do with entrepreneurship and small business growth and development? So perhaps you set the scene for us. I know that you're doing quite a lot of work, but I think you're welcome to take us through that journey of small business growth and development here, at least in Kenya.
Thank you, Moses. Good afternoon. I count it a privilege and an honor that I'm speaking to a distinguished gathering this afternoon. People who are potential SMEs are pretty close to my heart, and they are central to what DHL does. First, let me start with DHL's purpose. Our purpose in DHL is connecting people, improving lives. So what has that got to do with us? Connecting people, improving lives. We connect businesses to businesses. We connect businesses to customers. We connect customers to customers. We facilitate trade. There are very few trade flows that happen globally where DHL does not play a role. And SMEs are pretty close to us. I love SMEs because they are the single greatest growth lever in most of the economies. SMEs contribute 60% of GDP in the USA. They contribute 75% of the GDP in China. And SMEs provide about over 90% of all jobs in Kenya. So when I speak to SMEs, I salute them. You are the single greatest lever for growth. SMEs are in DHL's DNA. Why do I say so? DHL was started by 3 entrepreneurs. Their names are Adrian Dowsey, Larry Hilblom, and Robert Lin. So the D, the H, and the L that you know us for stands for Dowsey, Hilblom, and Lin. These are the first letters of their surnames. The second reason why SMEs are in our DNA as DHL is we have a strategic pillar for SMEs. The strategic focus for SMEs is titled Go Trade. Why Go Trade? we would want to facilitate SMEs to trade beyond their borders. We want to facilitate SMEs to export. The logical question will be, how does DHL facilitate trade? Well, for starters, DHL Express is in 220 countries. That's quite a serious global footprint. We have a fleet of 270 freighter planes. These are our own. They sit on our balance sheets. We also have contractual agreements with most of the international airlines. This gives us a global footprint in the entire world. The other bit that distinguishes us from most competitors is we actually have a customs clearance expertise in-house. In all these 220 countries where we operate, we have teams on the ground and they interface with the customs authorities. To land that point home, in our gateway in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, we actually have over 20 Kenya Revenue Authority officers who from January 1 to December 31st, they work with us. That enables us to bring in shipments, clear them with speed, and deliver. So now if you take 220 countries, we have boots on the ground and we have trained, motivated staff in all these areas. That infrastructure of planes, the infrastructure of being in 220 countries is complemented by us now delivering a service that we call International Door-to-Door Express. What that means is we can take a product from your hands, from your office, from your home, from your rural workplace, wherever you may be in Kenya. We can take your product and we can take it to any of the global buyers. So you no longer need to travel to the city. You can stay right where you are doing your enterprise. We will take your product from you and we will deliver it to an international buyer. And on average, within 3 to 4 working days. The other bit that helps us facilitate trade is we have simplified tools and placed them within your reach. So there are various DHL portals like My DHL Plus. You can access My DHL Plus on your phone, on your laptop, on your computer. You go in there, you can book a shipment and you can send a shipment. We also have other mobile apps where, for example, you're an SME and you don't know an HS code. All you know is I've made leather sandals and you want to export them. And you have no idea which HS code to use. If you go onto our portal and you describe your product properly, the HS code will pop up for you and it will give you simplified tips on how to do your packing list, your invoice, how to describe your goods. So, relevance to SMEs, one might ask, how is all this that I have described relevant to SMEs? The traditional route to market is about having agents, distributors, and partners. We would want to take Kenyan SMEs to a global market. So traditionally, SMEs would have to find their partners, their distributors, or their dealership. That limits them to a few areas where they have set this up. When you partner with international door-to-door service deliveries like DHL, your buyers can literally be anywhere in the globe. If you work with us, we're able to pick your goods, we'll process your goods for exports, take them to destination, do the inbound customs processing, and deliver straight to your customer's door or to their hands. So we actually help SMEs do away with the traditional routes to market, and we come in with the power of technology, and that helps open up the global market SMEs. So in a nutshell, we connect the unconnected to the global markets. So the goods now move from your hands to your buyer in a very short time. This gives our SMEs limitless opportunities. We also take the complexity out of exports. Jen did mention that export is complex. It's a very dynamic and ever-changing environment. Almost every day, countries are changing their requirements for goods to be imported into that country. It becomes difficult for SMEs to keep abreast with all these changes. Our systems in DHL will capture the changes the moment they are made. If you're working with DHL, if you're sending something to Argentina, the moment you type Argentina on your address in our airway bill, our system will tell you, based on your goods description, it will tell you all you need for your shipment to enter that country. If you're sending to Germany, you're sending to the United Kingdom, to the US, the moment you describe your content and you put in your address, we're able to give you the requirements for you to export into that country. So we actually take the complexity out of exports. The other thing that most SMEs do not realize is something called goods description. If one was sending a dress, say, to the United Kingdom, it is inadequate just to say, I'm sending a dress. That shipment will not go through. Nowadays, you now need to describe, this dress is made out of this material. It is 50% cotton, and it is this percentage polyester, and it is for a male, it is for a female, and all you have done into it. So the little things that we take for granted may actually become barriers when we talk of export. So in our way of supporting SMEs, we take all that complexity from them, and our technology guides them, and that technology is available in the palm of your hands through your phone, and is there on the DHL portal. So the question in your mind could be, who has DHL assisted? Which kind of SMEs? We have been working with SMEs in trade facilitation for over 20 years. Right here in Kenya, to bring it home, we're working with SMEs in the tea and coffee sector, value added. The reason why we encourage SMEs to export is, if you look, for example, in Kenya, in the best grades, the real top grades, they sell for, on average, about $3 per kilo. If you value add and you are exporting, depending on your positioning and depending on your marketing, you can actually sell your goods at maybe 10 times that price. We're working with people in the leather sector. We're working with people, for example, who take Maasai sandals, they beautify them with beads, and they're able to sell them at a lucrative price. They can afford DHLs taking their goods from Kenya into China, into the US, into the EU, land their goods there, and still be profitable. We're working with people in the leather sector. We're working with people who are doing baskets, dried spices, dried fruits. We're working with SMEs who are doing fashion and African attire. We're even working with dried sardines, what we call omena here. If you go to DHL Connected series on YouTube, you'll be able to see videos and testimonials of SMEs who are working with DHL and are growing their businesses. Many a times when I interact with SMEs, they'll tell me, but Paul, I would want to export. I don't even have a single international buyer, and I don't know where to start. If you are in that situation, I would invite you to attend our market linkage facilitation training. What does that do? As DHL, we move shipments globally. We move over millions of shipments every day. So we understand trade flows and trade patterns. Our teams will be able to work with you. All you need is just bring a smartphone. If you bring a smartphone and a willing mind, and you can work with Google, we will facilitate that by the time you leave our market linkage training, you will have identified a couple of buyers. When I run this training, I challenge most of my delegates. If you don't find less than 20 buyers, please don't come for the DHL sponsored lunch, because then you haven't applied your minds and we haven't helped you. So we do facilitate SMEs to connect with international buyers. We do move your shipments from Kenya to globally, and we're a multi-modal company. DHL operates DHL Express, which is the business I lead. We move the shipments by air. DHL Global Forwarding will move shipments by road, by rail, by sea freight. DHL Supply Chain will help in warehousing. We also do move even fresh goods that need to be in a cold warehouse before they are loaded on a plane and they are taken to their various destinations. So we do have rates that are favorable. We support SMEs, and we have special rates for SMEs, particularly those that are in the e-commerce sector. So let me sum up how we facilitate and assist SMEs. DHL is a one-stop shop, your gateway to global markets. We help you with business to business. We help you with business to customer connections. We help you with your road, rail, and sea freight, and we help you with warehousing. So we are multimodal, and that will help you. Our capacities as DHL, we handle your logistics. We have the customs expertise. We do the time-definite deliveries, which means we can pick your shipment from Kenya and deliver to your buyers within a stipulated time. If you use DHL and you go onto DHL Express on your phone, you are able to track the progression of your shipment. There are many who offer track and trace. Ours is real-time tracking capability. You see that we've picked your shipment is at the airport, your shipment is airborne. By the following day, you see your shipment is in a different continent, and you see that your shipment is being delivered. So that tracking visibility gives you peace of mind. It gives your buyers confidence. One thing to add here that helps our SMEs, most SMEs brands are not well known. If you're doing international business and you tell your buyers, I ship by DHL, our brand is known, our brand is trusted. So you can leverage from a bigger brand, and that helps you get a foothold into the market. So what's our call to action? Many a times you may be wondering, should I really go the SME way? Moses was right in his introduction. Being an SME is tough, very challenging, but we are your partner. We take away your logistics headache. We take away all the export terminologies, documentation, and requirements that you may not understand. And more importantly, we take away the reliance of the traditional route to market. We use technology and our network. With DHL, you have one partner that can take you any part of the globe. So we link your brands to global markets. We partner with you for growth, and we encourage you to start local and go global. Move from a seed into a big tree. Many trees make a forest. So the big brands you know started off somewhere, and they started off small. Last year, I had an opportunity of a business tour in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. And I dedicated 2 hours, and I visited the Coca-Cola Museum. One thing that stayed with me in that Coca-Cola Museum was the fact that when Coca-Cola was launched in its first year, they only sold 9 crates. Not 90, not 9,000, not 900, 9 crates. But it grew from a small seed to a global brand. You too can grow. In conclusion, I would want them to beam one thing. There is a slide I have called the DHL call for action. If you could beam that for me, please. On this slide, the last slide, yes, you see there is a QR code. That QR code is important. Many times when we talk to people, they say, I don't know where to start and I don't know who to call. Can you give me your number or your email? In DHL, you don't need my number. You don't need my email. You need that QR code. If you scan that via your phone and you register on there, our team members will reach out to you. At whatever stage you are, we can work with you, we can support you, we can facilitate you to grow from a small seed into a big brand. Thank you.
Very, I think, well articulated. There are a couple of comments that came in the chat, people wanting to know when the next market linkage facilitation training is happening or where they can get more information on that. But I think, as you rightly said, I just asked the technical team, please put up the slides again for the QR code. If you are watching, you can just get out your phone and utilize that QR code. We will also be able to send out the slides after this session with some of this information. But please activate the link behind the QR code and explore what sort of information you find there that Paul has talked about. But very inspiring. I think one thing that I've learned today, obviously, the meaning behind the three letters there, DHL, the original founders who once upon a time entrepreneurs, like people who are on the call today. And for some reason, I'm also remembering the founder of KFC, Colonel Sanders, who started that company in his 50s. Also, I think just reminding me to say to the audience, it's never too late to begin. And one of the things that small businesses are looking for in terms of support when they are starting out is a scaling partner. You would find small businesses looking for partners like phone operators, looking at banks, people who can help them access distant markets. I think DHL has, through Mr. Makalosi, has really illustrated very well how they can come on board to help you take, whether it's your Masai sandals or your coffee and tea that's being processed. I believe Jane also in her earlier session talked about the macadamia exports, accessing customers that are quite far away from here and come straight to you in the rural area that you're in. And I'm sure the audience might have questions exactly about how that works, Paul. So I'll come back to you on that. But I'd like to now move to the next panelist, Linda from the SME Support Center. We have a mix of people on the call. Again, just as a reminder, we have people who are looking at addressing the unemployment issue. We have people who already have an idea. We have colleagues who might already be producing something and can't wait to call Paul after this webinar. But we have other colleagues who might just be asking themselves, where do I begin? Jane talked about drafting the business plan. She talked about doing the research. And if you're those are the shoes that you're wearing right now, asking where do I begin, I'd like to, hand over the baton to Linda, who is really going to be able to tell us about the SME Support Center and how they can begin to work with you, even at the very beginning of your journey. You might feel that, perhaps I'd like to talk to DHL next year, but where I am right now, where do I start from? And so, Linda Onyango, most welcome. Talk to us about the SME Support Center and how you might begin with a business from day one, or what we call pre-revenue or idea stage. Karibu. You might be on mute, Linda. We cannot hear you. Just checking again.
My name is Linda Onyango. I run the SME Support Center. SME Support Center is a business I founded 8 years ago. So my case is very different. I did not lose a job. I actually quit employment. I had a very good career in professional services. I was rising up the corporate ladder, and I felt there was more. For me, I felt there was more. So I actually left a very, very lucrative job, working with one of the top consulting firms in the world. And I said, I really wanted to bring the same level of consulting, quality consulting, to SMEs. And I had really seen the opportunities to really support SMEs and how they can actually, the power of consulting to really support SMEs. And that is how I truly ended up in this in this space. So I've been in this journey for 8 years as an entrepreneur. I know people say consulting is the easier one to go for. I had Jen say she was doing consulting. A lot of you were saying, maybe you're thinking maybe that's the first thing I could do. And but it's always very important for us, for me particularly, it was important to actually create a structure and create a company where then we would be able to really build a firm that would compete with some of the consulting firms I used to work with. And by God's grace, 8 years later, right now, we are able to compete, and we've grown this business not just as a Kenyan business, but as an African business. So really, truly a pleasure. What I want to do now is to really tie up everything that has been said. Some of you are really asking yourselves, where do I start? Truly, where do I start? Some of you are wondering, how am I going to go from here? Yeah, so the first thing, so what I'm going to do is give you an entrepreneurship framework, and I think the team can project it for you so you can look at it. Please go ahead. Is it showing, Moses? Is it showing? I can't really tell on my end. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So what I want to give you is certain things. Number one, as Moses alluded to and as Paul alluded to, make sure entrepreneurship is what you want. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Truly, even with experience, it is truly difficult. Truly, you know, I keep telling people what I am 8 years. For the 8 years, we have built the SME Support Center from scratch, literally. What I have gained in terms of human resource for the last 8 years, I cannot even quantify it in money or an MBA or anything like that. So entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Number one, make sure it is truly what you want. Don't go for it because you've lost. You said, I saw 35% of you said that. Go for it because number one, you've identified a gap. You have identified something, or maybe you're passionate about something. In my case, I was very passionate about consulting. I had met SMEs used to look for me when I was in the consulting firm. When I was hired, they used to look for me to support them on the side. Then I was like, there's really an opportunity here. This is 8 years ago. So truly, make sure entrepreneurship is something you want. There are very many low moments, very tough moments. Very moments where you're wondering, this business, where is it exactly going? So it has to be something you want. That's the first thing in terms of the entrepreneurship framework. Number two is definitely to decide the business you want. I saw Paul gave you some. Paul typically runs various opportunities or export market opportunities that you can pursue. But I would say, personally, a lot of what you know what you want. Most of the time, it's based on your passion. In my case, I've always been very strong or really passionate about consulting. That's really what I like to do. So decide the kind of business you really want. At that point, you really then do a lot of research. You're very lucky. You've been in USAID. Some of you have reviewed so many grant proposals. Like, you're so lucky. You have reviewed so many. I'm sure, like Moses, you have seen so many grant proposals. And you visited so many farms. Some of you, your work was to visit so many SMEs, look at them, so you sort of not starting from zero in your case. So the issue is to perhaps say, what are the top 5 things that are really interesting to me? What are the top 5? I know Jane settled on academia. I see she talked about others as well. She was looking at other sectors, but just basically list 5 list 5 and research all the 5. Yes, so go on then and research all the 5 that you have narrowed down to. And then once you research the 5, then based on the nuances, speak to people, guys, speak to people. I keep saying this is the most important part. It's amazing how many people overlook the starting part. I remember before I started the center when I was employed, it took me a whole year to study consulting because I knew I wanted to do it differently. It took me a whole year to study, excuse me, to study consulting. What are all these firms doing? Who are the firms I admire? So I also went around meeting all the various firms I admired. And this is where strong entrepreneurs make it. The research part you cannot escape. And I keep saying the research part, don't delegate the research part if you're trying to narrow down on an idea. I know I'm a consultant, but don't leave it to a consultant. This is the one part where you should visit people, visit SMEs, speak to stakeholders, research your idea in detail. Go for workshops. You're lucky this workshop is there. Go for the DHL workshops. Go right now. I think the entrepreneurship landscape has so many support opportunities, so many. I mean, they're countless. So go for them to meet stakeholders, research your ideas, meet people. And then once you narrow down from the 5, you can now narrow down to 1. And that 1 is where you flesh your business plan. Business plans are not supposed to be 100-page documents and so forth. When you're starting out, if it's more than 10 pages, it's too much. Just make it very simple and really just the nuances of how you will start to market and so forth. And then once you jot down the people you've seen, just the notes from, basically put in the plan or the notes from the people you've been visiting as you are researching, then you decide how you will start. Starting varies with various people. Some people start big, or it also varies with the sector or the type of business that you're in. Excuse me. If you're in manufacturing, obviously, you need space and you need to start manufacturing. If you're in consulting like me, I pretty much started SSC at home, which was quite interesting. And I now look back home versus now, and we've really grown. So I pretty much started at home. So choose your starting structure. How are you going to start? If it's consulting, you probably don't need to hire people right now. You can get an intern to support you. If it's manufacturing, there must be a minimum viable where you can start with some little minimum investment. The important part is to start and put your products out there. If you're in manufacturing these days, you don't even have to put up a fully fledged factory. Not yet. Before people start testing your products, you don't have to immediately. What you need to do nowadays, even so many common producing manufacturing facilities, Kirdi is there. I've met so many SMEs and entrepreneurs and manufacturers who actually Kirdi, and now their brands are out there. Unilever, for example, who is my client, Unilever actually started at Kenya Industrial Estates. Guys, I can hear an echo. Okay, so Unilever actually started at Kenya Industrial Estates. Okay, so basically choose your starting structure. If you don't have enough money, money should not be preventing you to start. What is most important, guys, you have to test this product in the market. People assume starting a business that, oh, now I have a plan, let me just start this business. That's what people normally assume. Now, what you realize is that the market is so different, guys. The shocks you get from the customers, the feedback you get from the market. What is important is to start. Start where you are, start small, start with what you have, because then, believe you me, everything will be refined and tested in the market. So I always say, start small, start small. For me, I advise people, start small. Start with a minimum viable scale that you're able to do, depending on your sector or depending on your business. And once you start, implement the strategies that you have collected from your research idea, implement all these strategies and get the feedback. I tell you, business is about getting feedback. The number one, I keep telling entrepreneurs, the number one role of a business owner is to sell. And that is why you shouldn't bog your head with starting. Once you narrow down on the ideas, the harder part is to narrow down on okay, what's the business I want, the top 5, and then you get the one that you actually want to start. And then the starting. Actually, starting is the easier part. Once you start, so don't bog yourself on the starting. Once you start with a minimum viable scale and you start implementing strategies, that is when you realize now I'm actually in business. You go for pitches, you start to sell, and you get rejections. You get so many rejections. Till you're used to it, you're very immune. Yeah. So you have to iterate continuously based on feedback. This is feedback from customers. This is feedback from stakeholders. This is feedback from partners. This is feedback from donors. Whatever your stakeholder mapping looks like, you have to iterate continuously. And actually, another thing, you have to iterate continuously based on the market or the macroeconomic environment. So, for example, external factors like COVID, 2020, COVID was an external factor. You have to iterate. You kind of, which is why I say starting is the easier part. Business teaches you so much in terms of iteration, continuously iterating. Iterating basically means revising. So I remember for us, this is something I do continuously. Every quarter, I'm looking at our business and I'm like, how can we grow? How can we scale? How can we position ourselves differently? I'm very big on doing things differently. So I'm not the ones to just start a business, okay, and it's just another farm or it's just another similar farm. I also want to position our firm differently, how our socials look, how we position ourselves in the market, that we are a one-stop shop for consulting services or support services for SMEs, some Huduma center of sort. So I keep every three months, sometimes every year, I go on a retreat. I iterate. And I remember last year, the signs were there for me. The signs were there that Kenya would be hard, or 2 years ago, Kenya would be hard. Right now, there are very many consulting firms. I don't think there's any business you'll go into and you'll be alone. So the competition is also very high. Many people have lost jobs. Many people have been laid off, and their first stop is consulting. So for us, there are so many people, the competitive landscape is extremely competitive. And I remember last year, I asked myself, Kenya is too small. 2 years ago, Kenya is too small. And it really saved us that by God's grace, last year, the large part of our business came from Southern Africa and other countries, working with governments and so forth to support there. So iterate continuously based on feedback, market environment, everything. And then once you find your basic structure, once you find your basic model, what actually works for you as a firm, once you find it, is when now you can grow and scale. And you know it when you start becoming profitable. So by the time we were going into other countries, we were already making some profit at the center. And then now you can accelerate it. You can either grow by product, you can grow by regions, and so forth. But most importantly, the structure of your business must remain in a way that you can control, whether it is costs, whether it's your growth, you must be able to control. Sometimes you can grow beyond your capacity. So it must be something you're able to control. So this is a framework I just wanted to give you. I hope it has been useful. And if you ever want any services from the center, I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about supporting SMEs to grow and scale. I'm very big about growth and scale, and I like to teach from my own experiences, having built this business from scratch. And there's no shortcut. Truly, there's no shortcut. I saw some of you wanting to look for another job. There's nothing wrong with looking for another job, because entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, it is truly not for the faint of heart. So there are very many support services, not just from us, from many players, many consulting firms around. So plug in. If you're in Eldoret, I saw there's Eldo Hub. There's many people, Eldoret, there is Kisumu. If you find one close to you, that's okay. But typically for us, we have aggregated very many services. We have informational services. We share tender opportunities every Wednesday, funding opportunities every Friday. We share funding news, which is the deal activity across Africa, so that SMEs can know who are the equity funders, who are the what funders. We share trade events across Africa. And if you're just you've researched your idea, but you just want to test the market, we help you do what is called a pilot testing. We do business model reviews, we do business planning, partnership support, and financial management. Everything you see there, we do transaction advisory, we do deal briefs. Deal briefs are basically briefs for investors that we can send to you. We have life insurance with Old Mutual. This is what you call their key man cover. We have outdoor advertising. We work closely with DHL and many other players on logistics. Anything you can think aggregated, think about it as an Huduma Center for SMEs. That was the vision. If you look at my business plan now, and then I had that 1 year I was researching when I was still employed. It was like a Huduma Center. I'd even drawn how it would look. But COVID was such a blessing because we were able to do the same thing, but online. So now all you need to do, all the services have been structured in 3 ways. We have bonus services. Bonus services are basically the informational services, the tenders, the funding news, and so forth. Then we have basic services, which require minimal support from us. So if you want us to introduce you to 3 partners or so forth, we charge you $200. So basic services is something we do for up to $250. And then we have premium services. So if you want to access the services at the center, the second slide, if you want to access the services at the center, you can show them the QR code. Yeah, so basically you go to our website. I don't know what's showing or if it's showing at all. So please go to our website and click the button that says register. Is it showing, Moses? Okay. Yeah, so just go to our website. There you go, the previous slide. So just go to our website, click that button that says register. Yeah, there. Click the button that says register. So this is our website. It's called SME Support Center. If you type on Google, it's very optimized. If you just click SME Support Center, you click the register button. You can also view the resources. Resources has all those information. You should never lack information. In this information age, you cannot lack information. Tender opportunities, funding opportunities, who are the equity funders out there? All that is in under that resources tab. What are the trade events out there? So click that resources tab, click the register button, and then once you do that, you fill in the registration form. And typically what happens, our team gets back to you within 24 to 48 hours max. You'll have ticked the services you want. Our team will send you the brochure, all the costs, and then you just reply back with what you want. If you're not ready yet, it's okay. So
thank you, Linda.
I'll stop there.
Yeah. So, and actually you were answering the second last question that appeared in the chat box. Carmel Kosu was asking about the services that are delivered by your center. And I think you've been quite elaborate on that. There's another question, but I'll hold on to that, from Angela Muyu. I want to go to one that came earlier in the Q&A from Lucy Kusewa. This is for you, Jane Maigwa. Lucy was interested to understand how you financed your business. I know in the context of this call, we haven't spoken about finance or SME finance, but if you could touch a little bit on how you took off from the 3 friends up to where you are today, touching off on early stage financing, perhaps. What are some of the thoughts and considerations?
I'll speak from my experience, which I believe is not always the experience of everybody else. And, each one, as Linda says, has to navigate the path that is most viable for them. So for us, basically we took our savings. I had some little savings, very little savings. As you know, from employment, you really don't get to save that much. I took out all the pension that I had ever accumulated. It wasn't much in view of the projections or the projected finances we had. Then we went on to, and also my partners put in money as well from their different savings. And we did, it was not enough. It was way below what we needed. So the other thing is we went to friends and family. It became quite a an uphill task over there because, you know, to get money from friends and family for a business that you have not proven, a concept you haven't proven is not usually easy. There are few people that can trust that, but we found a few among the many. There were a few that put in some money as we went along. Then came the big one. We had to raise the big money that we needed to operate when we were starting operations, and we did a lot of, it's a very, very long and dreary journey of fundraising. It's really not easy at all. No wonder Linda says it's not for the faint-hearted. So we did have, the first thing you must have is you have to present your business to the person, the third party you're approaching, whether it's family or friends or business or institutions, financial institutions. So that's why we had to do the business plan. There are no two ways, and it doesn't have to be complicated, as Linda says. Actually, ours we did on slides, PowerPoint, several slides, and you know, moved the projections, Excel projections onto the PowerPoint. We look for people to help us as much as, you know, for example, I'm experienced in terms of business planning, support. I had to look for other people. You know, in African society, we say, what do you call it? The barber does not what do you call that? They don't cut their own hair at the back. So I went and looked for people to help, you know, have that third eye to help us develop the business plan. So the plan is nothing fixed. By the way, it was changing almost every other presentation. Every time we were pitching, it was different because you also learn from the pitches as you make them. So we approached financial institutions, very, very many. We approached all the banks in this city. The banks were listening, but were not acting at the point. You know, you quickly learn very quickly that banks are not going to finance startups that easily. And you're lucky that we have this webinar because you have the likes of SME Support Center that could guide you on, you know, where do you get startup capital. But remember, you have to put your skin in the game, start small, put some money into it, start doing, actually. Don't wait for perfect. That's what we didn't wait for perfect. We started working out things in the way that we could manage at that time with the little money we had. Actually, most of the financiers, because eventually we went to impact investors that we came to discover. And by the way, there is so much capital out there. It's just looking for a home, but it's not easy. You have to see how to connect with it. The idea has to be very convincing, and many of them need proof. That was a challenge we faced, you know, initially. Right now it's a little easier, not quite easy. It's a little easier than it was in year one because we did not have performance. We had this great idea. We had done very, very good slides to show, you know, where the market segments, how are we going to sell, the projected sales, the operations, you know, how we were going to do everything. We really tried to put it on paper. But came the part of performance, and this is what the banks will be looking for. They will be asking you for the 3 years audited accounts. Unfortunately, we don't have them. We didn't have them. We didn't even have a bank account because you don't start from a bank account. You know, you just start, isn't it? You just start moving things. So the money that I talked about, the pensions and all that, and we was beginning to procure little equipment, little things here and there, we banked into our account and we started transacting. So that money in, money out, it may land and leave the same day as it was doing. It was just landing and leaving. That started to create some history. And, you know, when we got to do our first, it wasn't a full container, by the I said container, but it was half container. We were able to now show the transaction has been complete because quite a number of the financiers were waiting to see a complete cycle. So those that are going to make meaningful financing would like to see a complete cycle of operations. You have gone in, you have performed the operations for the business or the services that it does. You have been paid, you have collected the money, and it's in the bank. Quite a number of those needed that proof. But then where to start? Our own money, some from our friends. We did all the dynamics of trying even to get titles that we couldn't get. You know, especially as women now, the dynamic even becomes bigger because we are not going to have titles that we are going to put in the bank that easily. Yeah, but that's how we went about it, Moses.
Thank you.
And as soon as we're able to show performance, we were able to start drawing finances now from impact investors, and there are many. There are so many of them. Let's link up through SME support centers.
And I think,
and you will get
Jane, you also mentioned that you are. You said in a different conversation we were having that you're also looking at how you can multiply yourself, the work you have done, and your spirit of being an entrepreneur. So we will also share some
I mentioned to Moses that I do train, as far as I'm learning so much. I used to be a trainer. I'm a master trainer in a number of tools, the ILO tools, particularly the Start and Improve Your Business, the Expand Your Business program. I'm also a trained and a certified export promotion trainer. I've trained under She-Trades, and I'm a mentor as well. I'm trained as a coach. By the way, just go in for all of these things if you can afford them, to go to them. Many of them are free, some of them you pay something, and you're able to gain a lot of skills. So I do train in these tools on depending on where your business is at. If it is at the point of you're needing to understand what is the business idea you want to get into. So there's the aspect of generating the business idea, because many people just jump into a business that they did not check whether it was viable, and you start trying to go to the market with it and you haven't checked quite a number of things. It's best to start from a solid point of view. There's also the business planning. Business planning is
Jane,
very
I think
important,
what we will
as
do,
we're saying this, they're not stuck. So there's a tool we use to train people on how to drive business planning. The last one is
I propose what we'll do is share your contact information or ways for people to reach you. Given that I think it's already clear from your experience just how much value you can impart to them, and they can follow up. I know because of time I wanted to maybe get one more question. I know we're running up against time, but if Dorothy is there, Dorothy has had her hand up for a while. If you want to come off mute and ask a question. We are giving a chance to Dorothy. If not, then maybe I'll pick the second question there.
Hello?
Okay, yeah. Dorothy, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a question for Jane. She had mentioned about sourcing money from different sources, be it an investor or a family member and friends, yeah? So I was asking, was a share option part of the thing that she considered to have them come on board, or it was just a repayment plan that they thought about when seeking the funds and be able to finance the business? Just curious about the financing and maybe convincing them to come on board.
And maybe if you can do it in 1 minute, Jane.
Sorry.
I'm just saying if you can condense it in 1 minute.
In 1-2 sentences. For friends and family, got into loan agreements. I would say don't take anybody's money without a clear agreement, because money is one that can cause a lot of challenges and friction. So whether it's family members or friends, professional friends, we did agreements. We agreed to pay the first. We were paying interest actually to the people we borrowed, just like we pay interest to other institutions.
Okay, thank you.
Shareholding, you've got to be careful with it, because when people become your shareholders, then you have to be careful with how much control you have to give them and how they become your partners.
All right. And then a last one. Before we pick the last one, for the audience, I ask your indulgence for 5 minutes, just for a wrap-up and announcements about the next event. Very briefly for Linda to respond to this one, and then I'll invite Paul for a parting shot. For Linda, does the SME Support Center provide direct linkages with investors? Also in a concise way?
Yes, so we do that, but for growth enterprises. So we've had much more success with growth enterprises. For those who are starting out, we really just point you out to just start, get that traction, because there's not much success if you don't have those attractions, just what Jane has said. So for growth stage enterprises, we definitely do transaction advisory. If you've already started your banking, you have some bank statements and so forth, we do transaction advisory for you. Yeah, so that we can have more success.
Thank you.
And then one more, sorry, Moses, and the question that he's asking, there are very many businesses like yours, very true. It keeps me up at night as well. We have really diversified our business, many other solutions, and I think I explained some of them. So it's all about diversification. In whichever business you'll be, there'll be other players. There'll be other players and more players coming in, especially now. So diversification is key. We find clients through quality. So we are very known for quality of our service. I think for us right now, the client part is not a problem.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Makolosi, I'd like to maybe hand it to you to take it home for us. I really like the picture you painted about the seed or the tree and the forest. Just from what you've heard on both sides of the panelists, Jane and Linda speaking, I think we've seen there's quite a bit of interest in people finding out how to connect with DHL. Maybe you could let us know, are there specific SME training programs? There was a trade facilitation program. How do people engage, find you, and how can we move forward from today?
Thank you, Moses. It's easy to engage with DHL. If you walk into any DHL service points, our team will be able to help you. If you are far away from a DHL service point or you are busy, use that QR code and fill your details in there. We will look for you, we will connect with you, and we will support you. There is one thing that I find interesting about Kenya and about Africa. We are the continent that has the resource. We are the continent that has the potential. And the sad bit is that most of our young people graduating out of universities are looking for jobs. The economy is not growing as much as the universities and colleges are churning out graduates. The challenge I see here is that if you are passionate and you are good at what you do, being an entrepreneur can be rewarding. We've heard from Jen, the starting was difficult, she's enjoying what she's doing. Linda is an SME who was passionate about something and she's enjoying what she's doing and she's making a difference. What I see on the other continents where DHL operates, the economies that most of us from the African continent side we admire are driven by SMEs. Now, here is my parting shot. People in life and in business, people don't rise to the level of their goal. They fall to the level of their systems. I'll say it again so it lands softly in your mind. People don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their systems. In trade, your logistics system, your SME support system as an SME is critical. Don't leave it to chance. Look for quality. That will significantly enhance your chances of success. Being an SME is a truly challenging venture. Work with non-trusted systems and you will succeed. Thank you.
And thank you, our audience. I apologize for running over a bit. I think our panelists had quite engaging content and material for us to share. Again, I'm reminding you that we will be sharing all the slides with you for follow-up and contact information. I thank you again for the time you spent with us. And it's just a reminder that I want to share that for those of us transitioning in this season of the career changes that we're going through, we have not lost our future, just our jobs. The road ahead might be unfamiliar, but we've already taken the first step towards that future. And we've done that by showing up today. And we'll continue to do that every other day to come. Thank you. And I'd like to now hand over back to Dr. Wadanga, to Joshua.
Yes, thank you our panelists, thank you our moderator, and for you who logged in today, thanks for your patience. You just seek your indulgence because I did 3 slides. So if you can kindly give us some feedback so that we can know where to improve, we would really appreciate. So if you could just bear with us for just a few minutes. So either log in to menti.com or use the QR code. It will take you straight to the questions. We would appreciate if as many of us can log in, please. So go to menti.com and it will ask you for a passcode, which is here 77121922, and it will remain at the top of the slide even as I move or use the QR code. And let me go to the first question, and that is give us at least one takeaway. If you can give us 3, really more than one, put one, and then submit, and then indicate the second and submit like that instead of putting them in one line. It will help us for analysis. So if you can give us your top 3 takeaways, at the very least 1, we would really appreciate. So yeah, let's have, someone said start with what you have. Just start. Entrepreneurship is the way to go. Rebuilding after disruption. Ideas don't have to be perfect. Talk to as many entrepreneurs as possible to learn about their journeys. Just start. Do not get into entrepreneurship because you have lost a job. Partnership research systems. You will not always have the startup capital. You are always learning, networking, retooling, rethink, challenge yourself, attend available learning opportunities. Yes, keep them coming. This is really good. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted, but it is rewarding. Enterprise is not for the faint-hearted. Research. Start small. Preparedness for the future is important. Inspire in believing in yourself. Grow from a seed into a tree, into a forest. There is support out there, especially when there's some traction. Get into what you're passionate about. Very, very good stuff. So thanks for those who have logged in. It really helps us to see what you're picking from this. And I'll just quickly analyze this for you. This is what AI is able to help us with.
The partnership.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just
Moses.
saying one of stood out for me is just the invitation to support everyone who's on the call desiring to be an entrepreneur from today's panelists, and I think they've indicated there are many others out there who are ready to support.
Wonderful. Yeah, some categories here: entrepreneurial mindset, continuous learning, need to get started, and research. Those are the four main categories. We don't have time to disaggregate, but thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, please let us know what should we do to improve for the next webinar, which we will tell you about in a moment. Somebody is saying we need more time. Some echo issues, sound, or some echoes. Need more opportunities for Q&A. Time. Okay. Right, somebody is suggesting we should do some brainstorming for panelists to test our ideas. We probably need another webinar for that. Is there a mailing list so that we don't miss out on the others? Yes, we are going to send you, when sending you the slides, we will let you know about the next webinars. Yeah, need to hear about how to get around entrepreneurial failures, basically when to know the business will not work and how to pivot, more business ideas. Very good. Keep them coming, and let's just see how that goes. The Q&A, more time for that. Yeah, more time, some audio issues to work on, and more business ideas. Very good. Final slide. Just help us rate your overall experience. Let's have a few more. So please just respond to this, and we this is our last slide. Very good. Well, it's looking good. It's looking good. 86% of you say how much you appreciated speakers. So thank you very much. We know we didn't have enough time for interacting a lot, so that was 63%. You appreciated the facilitation and the moderation, 92%, and 83% of you, or to the extent of 8.3 out of 10, you felt your objectives were met. Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. Over to Florence.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Joshua, and thank you everyone for staying even past time. We really appreciate your engagement today. I quickly want to say that we have a great lineup for next week. I just shared a link in the chat. If you have not registered for the last two webinars, please do that. On Tuesday, we will be having a discussion around funding. So if you know any organization at all that has been heavily affected, we are going to be looking at funding beyond the traditional donors. So exploring existing opportunities that we can tap into locally. And that discussion will be, we will have great speakers. One will be Evans Okinyi, who is from the East African Philanthropy Network. And we will have Rose Maruru, the co-founder and CEO of Epic Africa. So we hope to see you on Tuesday at 4 p.m. East African time. And then next week on Thursday as well, we are having a great webinar that will focus on that will be focusing on how to reposition ourselves, right? I just post everything that's happening. I know we have had great discussions about opportunities that are existing, like entrepreneurship, how to tap into AI, but then we will be having discussions, especially around the financial part of this. So how do we actually use what we have to make sure that we are positioning ourselves well? And that discussion on Thursday, we will be having two speakers. One is Waidaka Gatimaiv as the CEO of Centonomy Limited. I know most of you have probably heard about Centonomy, so we'll be having the CEO joining us on Thursday. And we will have Irene Karimi, who is a veteran chief of party for USAID-funded programs in Kenya, East Africa, Nigeria, Somalia, and South Sudan. She will be sharing her experience going through exactly what we are going through and some of the tips that she actually used and managed to, move through this transition period. So we are looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday and on Thursday. Use the link in the chat to register, but we will also be sharing the slides from today and the recording and including the link for registration as well. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week, same time at 4 p.m. East African time. Bye-bye.